The following announcement has been paid for by Perched on the Top Rope.
Welcome, everyone, to Perched on the Top Rope. I am your host, former dirt sheet writer from Ringside News, The Sportster, The Richest, and Sportskeeda. I am Lee Walker, and I have a very special guest with me today from Kayfabe Wrestling Collectors with the Kayfabe Heroes Series 1 that will be coming out very soon for pre-order. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Shawn all the way from Hong Kong. We have a time difference here, Shawn. First and foremost, thank you for joining us, and thank you for coming on to talk about everything that you've been doing.
Well, thank you for getting up so early and to, have me on, because I know all about the time differences, as I have been chasing distributors from New Zealand all the way to the US, every single day the last 3-4 weeks. So yeah, I mean, I really know how difficult it is to get up in the morning and do something like this.
Yeah, right. Now, Shawn, this is something that's very important to me. As you see with my studio, I am a figure collector. I know that you are a figure collector. Before we get into Kayfabe Heroes, would you like to tell fans a little about yourself so they know, like, about you and your background story as to how all this has happened?
Well, this actually, I even began like thinking about this process when the pandemic hits. So you're talking about in the late 2019, beginning of 2020. And I was hanging out in Tokyo with Lance Archer. At the time, he wasn't even in AEW yet. And we were just talking, having lunch and all that, and we were just like, I was like, man, you know what? Maybe I should start a toy line, just out of the blue. We're just talking. And he was like, yeah, do it. Lance is like that. He's like, yeah, do it. Right. So I was thinking, maybe I really should. So, once I got back, once I got back home, after hanging out with him in Tokyo, then, the pandemic really hits. And, somehow, someone was selling apparently a collateral of an old Zindot factory. The Zindot factory made the original Hasbro figures. And for many years, I have been hunting for, whatever that was left. That might have been in the area for the Hasbro figures. And I had very, very low luck. Like, I can tell you right now, I had very, very low luck. Like, I have a wall, like, you can't see it from here, but I have a wall full of Hasbro figures over here, like right in front of me. And I can tell you a lot of these figures, I ended up having to buy them from other countries because I just couldn't find them anywhere on my end. And so the collateral ended up having a bunch of these Hasbro samples. Some of them have tags that not even some of the more prominent collectors have seen over the years, like never ever, because they had the Hasbro Asia Limited QC sample stickers, which were never seen. And obviously some of them had green tags and some of them had the white tags. Now, what was the white tag was an engineer sample that I think it wasn't approved by Hasbro itself, and it was a white tag in the same shape as the green tag.
Oh wow!
So I have the Macho King and the Hulkaplex Hogan, which is Hogan number 3, that I still own, like very, very top of the shelf, like right here. And I have the green tag of the SummerSlam promo Bear Hug Hogan, and they were like, when I saw them initially, I thought they were just like normal figures, And until I saw one of the picture that I saw a string coming out from that particular Bear Hug Hogan, I was like, this has to be green tag. There's no way it's not green tag. So, and at the time, the guy was telling me that they had about 200 of these. Now, yeah, right. That was the same feeling I had. Now, now I was like, whoa, that has to be a gold mine, right? Well, it turns out there wasn't 200. There were 43, and some of them were missing tags.
Still 43.
So 43. So I ended up taking 43. And, I still didn't believe them. So by summer 2020, I actually headed to the Collateral's warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Like I called them up. I said, I need to come over and see for myself. Because it's not the fact that I couldn't trust it. It's just like, there's this part of me that you just need to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I literally ditched my wife that day. And because it was like really scorching hot that day, and my wife was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at the hotel. I'm like, fine, you stay at the hotel, I'll go. So I literally went to the warehouse and I looked through everywhere. Not even a tag. Not even a tag at all. And I'm like, okay. So, because the Collateral knew that I was running very far away to like getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, take a few of these gift from me. What they were these rumblers, the Mattel rumblers. They were like in package or whatever. Like take some of these. So he ended up giving me like 3 of these rumblers, and I'm like, yeah, consultation price. You know what I mean? So I was just like, okay. Like they weren't even unreleased or whatever. They were just like regular figures. So
Yeah.
I was like, back in my head, I was like thinking, it's just these, not Hasbro. And then I was thinking, well, you know what? They were giving to me for free. You can't really complain. And like, the guy literally drove me back to the train station. That's how nice he was. So,
wow.
I can't complain. I can't complain. Yeah.
Awesome.
So from then on, and obviously being a collector, you have that many of them, you share the wealth. And right now in front of me for that lot that I bought, I have 11 of them left.
Oh wow.
And I highly doubt that I'm gonna let them go.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Seeing those green cards come up like that on the back is
the green tag, right? Not the green card.
yeah,
The green card is a
the
totally
green
different
tag
deal.
is very rare to find. The green cards you can get all over the place, but that tag on the back is very hard to find.
Oh God, yeah.
So like my best was I have pre-production samples of Axe and Smash of the card itself.
Ooh, okay.
I have those in acrylic cases.
Mhm.
Mine doesn't have the back. Mine's just the front, and
Yeah.
they look very different than the cards that were originally produced as the initial run as 5 and up.
Right.
For the age.
I have
Because
I have the original print of Andre and Akeem. I didn't frame them up, but I kept them in like in one of these really thick cardboards.
yeah,
So the way that it was sent literally. So I had a look at it once and I put it back. That's it.
yeah,
The reason why is that I don't want to. I'm a little bit rough with my hands. I don't want to damage it.
yeah. I can be the same way.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about all these, how Hasbro has done all this really cool stuff with the green tags, samples, and things like that.
Right.
Your Kayfabe Heroes in Series 1, you have Mantaur, PN News, Komet Kid, and Yoshi Tatsu.
Right.
I have a lot of questions regarding Series 1. And
Right.
my first question about it is I'm curious about pre-ordering. How is pre-ordering going to work?
Um, I'm gonna say this. Initially, the plan was to like, let's just roll them all out at once for August.
Mm-hmm.
And after, and I don't mind saying this, it was carefully analyzed
Mm-hmm.
after hearing how many of the competitors are coming out with other products. And I was like thinking, well, you know what? One, it's a new line. Two, I want to at the very least, maximize, Mantaur's or PNU's or Komet Kid or Yoshi's profit, because they have a really big share of the cut in the line.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to do that, I felt it may be better, to just pull back a little. Let's just do one at a time. Then, one, customers can actually be like, okay, you know what? It doesn't burden these collectors so much to purchase, because action figures are not really a necessity. It's just a lot of times that we just made it into a necessity for the diehard collectors. Let's be honest. It's just the way it goes. I mean, I have been through that phase myself where, oh, I have to get figures. That urge.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, right now with like all these prices have gone up, not just toys, but everything else that has gone up, are you really going to, suck the blood, so to speak, out of the collectors? That's my feeling to it, right? So to me, I still feel that okay, we're still coming out with them. It's not like the fact that we're not coming out with them. It's just one at a time, so people know what to expect. Number one. Number two, they will not feel too much of a burden of like, oh, you know what? I literally have to borrow money to buy this, because I can say there are people like, say for example, you see all these payment patterns. You see these PayPal payments, pay first and then like pay a little bit first and then all that. Essentially, you're adding more damage to collectors than anything else. If I want longevity to this line, that's at least I feel there has to be a certain social responsibility to collectors. Even though, okay, you know what, it's a company that still has to make money, and I still have to owe it to the collector, to the wrestlers that that trust me to make this happen, that they will be able to get the best best percentage of sales as possible. So I do not want that to like, okay, you know what, go buy. Like that's not me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a certain responsibility at the end, in terms of being a toy collector, in terms of being a toy maker, in my opinion, at this point. Right.
As a collector, I want to say thank you, because there are a lot of different in August, different brands coming out with their own figures and stuff like that, and to be able to not have to feel rushed to buy the entire set all at once, it is a little heartfelt warming inside a little bit, because where everyone's like, hey, buy the set of 4 now, we don't know when we're going to get them back.
That was the plan. That was the plan initially of like, okay, come up with a set of 4 with variants.
Yeah.
And which is why, for the first one, we come out with Mantaur with like 2 variants. That's it. You get to choose 2. You got to choose which one.
Yeah.
And it's not the fact that oh, you know what, I'm gonna suck everyone's money out from whatever. Plus, not only that, I'm giving out pre-production prototype, pre-production test shots. Like, which company does that?
Yeah, and
Right?
I saw you were doing that, and I wanted to ask about that, because I know that you are a collector yourself. I kind
Right.
of in my thought process thought, you know, he's a collector and this is his toy line. He's gonna want that stuff himself. What was the decision to, you know, decide, hey, you know, the test shots are gonna come out too, and the prototypes are gonna come out for people to purchase as well.
It's easy. It was really easy. I can tell
Yeah,
you this right now. The thing is, okay, I can say this right now. I will get one no matter what.
yeah,
I can say this right now. I'll get one no matter what because
yeah,
for the for for the production, okay, of these pre-pro items, okay, we're gonna make, say, for the prototype, we make 3 of them. Okay, and 2 types of the test shots. One of the test shots is gonna be 5 of them, and that's gonna be 10 of them. But 2 of each are gonna be taken out from the inserts. So I will get one of each, and also the wrestler or the estate, in this case will be Mantaur's family, will get one of each. So
okay,
it's not just the fact that they are like, oh, you know, just for collectors. I mean, I'm a collector myself. I kind of have to have a
yeah,
little, you know, that's you know, but at the same time, you know, on top of the percentage that the wrestler gets, they can also have these rare items, you know, with them. Then that way, you know, it's also somewhat of a rainy day thing for them
yeah,
because they are high collectibles, no matter how you look at it.
yeah,
So, you know, I want that to be like across the board, and at the same time, collectors will have a chance to get it. And
yeah,
not only that, and see, here's the thing, it's not only that, after people receive the figures, okay, and I also have something big planned for collectors, which is a 2-up prototype giveaway. Yeah, a 2-up
wow,
prototype giveaway. I'm only giving one out.
that's really cool.
Because you can imagine, like, say for example, I think the last time I saw Demolition one, I forgot which Demolition it was. I think it was X, one of the Demolition prototype. That was a 2-up. For those that don't know what a 2-up is, it's actually double the size of the original figure. So if a
Twice as
figure is
big
like,
as this guy.
yeah, twice as tall and you know, obviously bigger mass and all that, so you talk about this square literally, okay,
Yep.
and the 2-up is that size. So you I I, I haven't had an actual 2-up in hand. I only had the heads, but I think the 2-up heads is like 4 times the size of the actual figure's head. So 4 or 5 times, I, you know, kind of give it a rough estimate here. But the thing is, because of that, I think the last time that Demolition X prototype 2-up that got sold on eBay, I think it was like 7,500, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. So, you know, I'm giving out more than any toy companies will actually offer at
Yeah.
this point in time. I mean, you know, and it was funny the other day. Someone was like, "Oh, it's a money grab," and I'm like, "Money grab? Am I getting money from giving out a 2-up? Am I really getting the secondary market value for any of these chases? No, I'm giving these out as a retail value. So
Yeah.
how is money grab? You know, it's something that I, you know, to this day I still don't get. But people have their opinions. What can I do, right?
Yeah. Well, everyone's got one and sometimes they're not the best.
Hmm.
Shawn, when it, you know, I can't wait for all this, to be honest with you. When I know how the pre-ordering is working, and Mike Halleck Mantaur is the first
Yeah,
figure in the line to come out.
right.
You're doing it month by month, and Mantaur pre-order is August 1st. Where will fans be able to pre-order the figures?
Um, in the US, they can order directly from Asylum Wrestling Store. And for right now, and I don't mind addressing this particular issue, because initially Rock and Roll Collectibles was supposed to be picking up our line for UK and Europe, but unfortunately we just could not agree on, in terms of the percentage of sales between both sides. So that's why we ended. It's not anything about about really anything else. It's just that. And still with Rock and Roll Collectibles and I are still friends. Like we were just talking this morning, and it was all fun and laughs or whatever. And I know he is he is a very, very reputable seller. And it's just the fact that we just cannot come to terms with a cut. I blame the UK sales tax on it, because the UK sales tax was way too high. And that added a lot of difficulties in terms of distribution and whatnot. So that's why. And so basically, because of that, all European orders and UK orders will go directly from my store, shopkwk.com. And we also have a distributor in Canada as well, Wrestling Merch, and they will handle the pre-orders in Canada. And we also have Australian and New Zealand distributor as well. So.
Oh, wow. So when you said all about the time zone difference, dealing with all these different companies to help in getting these figures out to fans, how difficult has it been trying to handle that aspect?
Well, I can tell you, to be honest, over the last month, I would be lucky to get 5 hours of sleep.
Oh, wow.
I can tell you this much, that I could get pretty cranky if I don't get enough sleep. I have been like that since I was a kid. But and it's and I've known to, like, when I when I do a project, I go all in. I go absolutely all in. So that does, to me, that's one of the very, very difficult part, because once you have this many distributors, you have to come to terms with like a lot of things. Because there will be this distributor that wants a certain way of doing things and wants to do a certain thing, and then there will be this distributor that wants to do a certain thing, because they have to look out for their business too. So at times, if there is a little bit of leeway that I can go, okay, you know what, I can give that in, a little. And then there are times it's like, look, I can't do that. We really have to think of another way. So it can be difficult on all sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it like to work with the wrestlers that you have in series one? Like, you have Mantaur, PN News, Komet Kid, and Yoshi, Tatsu.
Right.
And before I even begin, very unfortunate with Mike Halleck, Mantaur passing away.
Right. And we talked about it off air as well.
And off air, ladies and gentlemen, Shawn was one of the ones that I had talked to about the interview that we had done with Mike, because the day he had passed away was the day the interview was initially going to drop. So we held off, and for fans that want to, go watch that interview, and it was Mike's last interview, youtube.com/perched on the top rope or @perched on the top rope. To which he did talk about the figure, and I'm going to include that in part of this interview as well. So what was it like to be able to, working with these wrestlers and getting them, part of KWK?
For the first four that I'm working with, so you talk about Mantaur, PN News, Komet Kid. I mean, we all know who Komet Kid was. It's Paul Diamond. Paul Diamond has been great as well, and also Yoshi. Yoshi's a personal friend of mine. So not only that, I'm also the agent for his international bookings. So that there's already this bond.
Mhm.
And to say that I'm his agent, I can say this right now is only the title, because I don't get cut on his bookings. Absolutely no cuts on bookings. It's all going to him. And it was funny the other day as well. Someone was like, "Oh, um, and there are times where I have to look at some of these comments online, and there's no way around it, because I mean, I upload stuff on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, right? I can't just upload them and just go away." And I remember a friend sent me a message. It's like screenshot of some places on Facebook that I don't remember, and this guy was saying something about me conning Yoshi to be his agent. And I looked at it and I just laughed, because the reason why was, okay, one story that I can tell you, okay, when I got Yoshi a booking to wrestle in Shanghai for MKW, one of the Chinese promotions, and they booked Yoshi, and because I was friends with the owner, so I was going there as well, on my own dime, I may add. Okay, so hotel, everything, it was all paid for by me. Yoshi's accommodation, flights obviously were paid by the wrestling company, because he did not have the payment system that they had, the online payment system in China, because everyone just had a phone, just like swipe with the with QR code. He doesn't have that, because Japan was still on cash, essentially, or PayPay. That's what they have, and so basically I pay for everything. So which agent does that? I don't know.
Don't either, to be honest with you. So
I mean, which agent actually takes money out from his pocket just so his client will have a great time wrestling in a place that he has not wrestled for 14 years.
yeah,
So and Mike has been great, and I have to say, Mike, both Paul and Mike, like PN News and Mike, the thing that I still feel so grateful about was that they were the early two wrestlers. They were the early two wrestlers. And Yoshi, I signed Yoshi back in 2020, just before the pandemic hits like big time. And Mantaur and PN News both were very, very nice, and waited for me for 12 months for me to sort out everything first before signing them to a contract. And I know for a fact that before they had offers from other people, but they go, nope, I'm waiting for Shawn. That's what, and I know for a fact that's what, at the very least, that's what Paul and both PN News and Mike were. So that, I mean, in this game, especially if you, and I don't like to play the race card, but here I am, duh. If you are telling people that your company outside of the US or even in the UK, that you try to offer a deal to produce figures based on percentage, a lot of the wrestlers will say no. And not only that, they will request for a very high fee that
Yeah.
as a startup, you just can't do it because it's bound to be a loss.
Yeah.
So, that part of me is like, I need to balance this out. I need to balance this out to a point where, okay, you know what, that will be beneficial for the wrestler at the same time that I don't have to go broke as a company. And also, collectors will be able to get what they ordered. I mean, I think it's a very, very difficult part where you have to balance that out. And, that's why, when people can sign, say within US or some of the Caucasian countries where they can sign like say 50, 60 wrestlers, 70 wrestlers. I got 16.
Yeah.
I got 16. Like that's all I have.
Yeah.
So, I can tell you for one prime example, like Japanese wrestling legend Masahiro Chono. Okay. I've known the family for years. And I whenever I see Chono, I call him Big Brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like I call him Aniki, like Big Brother. And but when it comes to Japanese people, at the end of the day, business is business, friends is friends. So his offers, like I offer and go, okay, maybe we can make a wrestling figure or whatever. He could do percentage, but I have to pay the percentage beforehand. So before even the figures have been made. So, let alone pre-orders and everything else. So, when that happens as a small company, you just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally understandable on your
Yeah.
end, because I mean, I've asked a lot about certain things like a full NWO reunion and things to
Yeah.
that nature. And a lot of the times promoters say, hey, based on what these guys want to charge, it's not possible sometimes to do
Yeah.
these. So
Right.
I totally understand that aspect. I do have one question, and I'm gonna do a showcase of the figures after we're done talking about them.
Sure.
So basically, 3 out of the 4, this is their first like licensed figure, from my understanding, because Mantaur's
Right.
never had one. PN News came really close in WCW, and Komet Kid, I would call
Never
it
had one.
Diamond never. So, this is what for me has like really made the line, is that 3 out of the 4 have just never had an action figure produced.
Right. And not only that, Yoshi had not had a figure made of him since I think it was 2010.
Yeah, we're talking well over 13 years at this point for him.
Maybe somewhere around 10 because he did have those little rumbler things.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I have his Elite
Yeah.
in the box, great condition,
Yeah.
but as far as I don't collect basics, and I didn't collect those things either. So like for me,
Right.
his last figure was 2010.
Yeah.
With,
the actual mainline figures that they have, like anyone's made of him, was it was indeed the Elite figure that he had.
yeah.
And that's just about it.
Yeah.
And like, the thing that I know, and some people were like, oh, how come you're having like 4 variants on Yoshi? And one, I have to look out for the distributors in Asia and Oceania, that they have something special for them as well, because let's be honest, they never had any proper exclusive ever.
Yeah.
I mean, even including like my side, like we never had anything like that. I think the only thing that came very close was there were a bunch of Jax figures at one point that that were Asia exclusive, but it tanked quite badly. And I think that's the only thing. And like everything else, there weren't any Asia exclusive ever. So, aside from Japan, obviously, but but then for me, it's like, okay, you know what? Why not give some love to that continent as well? Because that continent never got anything, like ever.
Yeah.
So when the major markets, quote unquote major markets, when you have North America and Europe gets everything, where else get nothing really. I mean, I'll be lucky to I mean, I can say this: there are some sellers on my end that may be able to get stuff every now and then. So I'll be able to get dips on it at times, but other than that, nothing really. Like I really had to hunt for it. The Hasbros that I mentioned, I literally got lucky because there was another collector that couldn't afford them.
Oh wow.
And came to me and go, do you want to buy the whole lot? Because I really don't want to buy the whole lot because it's too expensive for me. And I said to him, let me negotiate and see what I can do. And I end up buying the whole lot. And in return, I gave this friend of mine a mint on card Superman Punch Roman Reigns retro. So as a thank you.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask is, you bring up the, how you're having the different variants and exclusives and everything.
Right.
Will fans, say like me being in the United States, would I be able to get an exclusive from another country if I buy from another distributor? Okay.
You can definitely. I mean, they are open for business. It's not like they are locking in just for one specific area, as long as you're willing to pay the shipping. The main reason for the distributors in certain continents is because a lot of people complain about shipping, and I've learned that when I first opened the Shop KWK store back last year. And I've realized the one thing that most people complain about the most is the shipping. But then there's no way around it. Shipping is shipping. The cost has been going so high these days. So for in order for everyone to be like, okay, you know what, having an easier time getting these figures, and at the end of the day, it's still for collectors. And that's why we do have like, okay, you know what, we have this distributor here, this distributor there, and just so that they could get them in bulk and get them to collectors cheaper. That I don't have to charge like $60 a figure or $70 a figure.
Thank you for that as a collector.
I mean, there's a lot of thought process going in, and it's like, after we ended with Rock and Roll Collectibles, that as of today, I actually have new ways to look out for European collectors and UK collectors, because I have a new shipping deal with a new shipping company. So their prices were much lower than the company I worked with before. So I was able to reduce a lot of the shipping costs. So say, for example, shipping to the UK, if you're ordering both Mantaurs, right? In protective case, I may add, okay, that because they are going to be in protective case. I'm a collector too. I thought about these kind of stuff. So with two of them, shipping out will cost $10 US. That's it. Tax included.
Oh wow. I'm so glad you brought up the shipping and case thing, because a question that I did have regarding the figures and the cases, particularly the cases that you produce. You
Right.
produce UV protected cases. I was going to
Right.
ask, will the figures fit in those?
The figures will fit in those. The main thing is the protectors that the Kayfabe Heroes will come with, even though they are built from the same mold for the clamshell, and it's only the clamshell that I'm shipping with, because otherwise it's going to be stacked much higher and shipping costs will be
Yeah.
much higher. But the outer box was UV 70 protected, but it's thick. It's really thick. It's close to 1 milliliters thick. So I weighed the full on figure bodyguard. So you talk about the outer case and the clamshell today because there was a customer asking.
Okay.
And just for one, you're talking about 0.33 kilos. So for the clamshell alone, that's cheaper, but it's still like lighter actually. 0.13 kilos. But as protectors, these are pretty heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. That sounds heavy. And I am just in awe that as a company you are going to ship in a protective case, because that also is unheard of from companies to ship. I mean, unless you do it as an extra pay option on the figures, like Ringside Collectibles does that. You can get it shipped in a case, but you're going to pay for the case type deal.
Right.
Really awesome on your end to do that. I
Well,
think that's a great
see,
way.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. The one of the thing that the reason why I offer protective case is because the first round that we did on the figure bodyguards, we already had the mold.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to make an extra mold for the protective cases. So that was done. And not only that, the materials that we use were PET. But for these ones, we're going to use a lighter weight protective case. So, doing the same protection, but at the same time, it won't be unfortunately as environmental friendly as the PET.
Yeah.
It still does the trick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really awesome, man. I'm excited for this, and as you can see, as a fan, I am going to be adding to my background
Right.
with your figures. How much input did the wrestlers themselves have on the action figures?
Well, they can offer their opinions, anything, and we'll try our best to accommodate them. Say, for example, PN News. Initially, I was thinking of doing 4 variants for him, but I thought it was too much, and he wasn't necessary to do 4.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas someone like Yoshi will require that because we, despite the fact that I trust his ability and I believe in him, there are collectors that may see Yoshi as too recent, so they may not want to buy his figure. So, which is why I have more than 2 variants for him. So, he has the limited 1 of 100 exclusive where he could sell at venues and whatnot.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, when he does autograph signing, he has his own very rare figures that he can sell.
Yeah.
Whereas, say someone for PN News, he doesn't have to. He just need 2 variants, and they will sell meeting the minimum production amount.
Yeah.
So, there's this thought, and I have to think of contingency plans all the time in case what happens if this doesn't go, because at the end of the day, I still want the wrestlers to get as much money as possible.
Yeah.
So you know, to me, that's one thing that I really have to think of in order for them to like, okay, you know what, let's try that. And that's when PN News decided to go, hey, I really want that orange gear that I had. And I was like, do you still have that orange gear? He was like, no, I sold it a long time ago. Then I was like thinking, where am I going to find it, right?
Yeah.
So I started to go online and look at pictures, and you should know by now, they're so hard to get like pictures of these wrestlers. I mean, you know, I'm not like WWE where, you know, they have an HD library that you can just go in and go, okay, let's click on this and see how this design look, right? You
Yeah.
can't. Okay. Especially for wrestlers that are lesser known in the market. So, you know, I really looked through and I finally found a video where he was wrestling in that on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made it a bit easier. But
Yeah.
you know, there are times where, you know, say for example, the Yoshi in the gear when he first got back to New Japan, which is half red, half blue. And there were a lot of pictures that were only shown like halfway. So that was a headache to deal with, because you know he didn't wrestle too many matches in that, because he suffered neck injury afterwards, and eventually he changed the entire gimmick. But I thought that look was very, very catchy, because especially to me, I felt that was more like a triumphant return for him to New Japan at the time. So, you know, I asked him, and Yoshi couldn't explain to me like how that look, or
Yeah.
he had pictures to like show me.
Yeah.
So, you know, so and I have to say, you know, my design team, the entire design team were saint dealing with this whole thing, because like they were asking me, hey, do you have that design? I go, no, can you go online and find it? And you know, and it's too difficult for them to go online and find it, so they must be pulling their hair out while
Yeah.
doing it. And you know, if it was a hassle for me to like really look through and try to find it to a point where I couldn't find it and I still had to pull my hair out, imagine they have to go through that, and they
Yeah.
have to literally design it bit by bit. So, you know, they have their input, but when they said no, I don't have it, I don't know how to explain it to you, and there are very little resources that you can find them, that becomes a problem. Yeah,
Yeah. Right. I can imagine.
yeah,
I want to showcase these. I'm going to do a little
yeah,
share screening
yeah,
if because I want fans to be able to see this as well
sure,
for YouTube. I'm just right here, guys, on facebook.com/KWK Shawn. This is the website here.
yeah,
I'm gonna go just like right like this with Yoshi Tatsu,
yeah,
and you can explain the gear and like where it's going to be sold
yeah.
country wise, I guess.
This black version, which will have half of his face painted,
Hmm.
um, that's when he was in WWE. And you know, I think some people don't like it. I kind of like that, you know, with face paint and whatnot. So, you know, come with the mask. This will be available worldwide. So every single one of the distributors will be able to get them. Yeah,
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
Now here's the next.
This will be that's the New Japan look. And that will be strictly for Asia and Oceania. So you are talking about New Zealand, Australia, and my store, Shop KWK as well.
And Sean, I gotta bring something up. Just looking at these two alone,
Yeah,
the amount of detail that are in these is
yeah.
amazing.
Oh,
It's it's
I
amazing.
can tell you, we had to end up adding one more person to the team, which was 3X Studio. They were great on the decos, and because as good as the design for the figures are, which the designer's Daniel, and he had trouble working on all these decos, all these designs. He had a tough time doing it. So, and I understood that. And that's one reason why, for the entire prototype process, it took us about 4 months. But if he just did the prototypes, it would probably take him two weeks on one highly detailed one at most. So that's why that's the one of 100, and that will be strictly for Yoshi Tatsu himself to sell at
That's
venues.
really cool.
Yeah.
Now I gotta ask, the cape, is it plastic or is it a cloth cape?
It's gonna be soft plastic.
Okay, very cool.
Cost cutting measure, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, very cool, very cool. And the one of 100, very awesome.
That's his more like WWE debut look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. The whole series is phenomenal, and here we get to see where the mask is actually off the figure.
Yeah, this one will also be worldwide release as well.
Very, very,
so
very
that's
cool.
going to be like 2 variants. That's going to be worldwide release. Yeah,
very cool. And here's the blue with showcasing the mask off so you can see his face.
Yeah.
Very, very awesome. And then here's the half painted that you were talking about.
Right.
Very awesome. I love it.
And I can say this: Yoshi had a lot of implementation to this. Like, say for example, some of the kanji characters that he used, and very specific. I was asking for that, and he forgot what the back design was, so I had to end up screenshotting a whole bunch of videos. One that took me about 2-3 hours just to screenshot everything and send it to him and go, does this look right? Is it this? And at times he don't remember. And
yeah,
a lot of wrestlers do. Mike, I mean, prime example, Mantaur, when it was just a few days before he passed away, and I was showing him the prototype for approval, and that's why we continue with it, because he approved it, and he was and he looked at the bullhead, quote unquote ram head, some people said, and he said, "You got that wrong, man. I didn't have ears on that bullhead." I said, "No, you had." He said, "No, I don't." So I go, "Okay, give me a second." So I went online, took a picture, and sent it to him. I said, "Look, you had."
Yeah.
And he go, "Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry." So he was like, "Yeah, that's fine. That looks good." So that's when we went with it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was very excited for the figure to come out, and then
Oh yeah, he was.
I'm really excited to actually see the card itself.
Yeah. That's the sample card that we're gonna have, and you can see on the top corner it says variant D.
Yeah.
So variant A and B are for worldwide, variant C is for Asia only, and variant D are for wrestlers.
Okay.
So in Yoshi's case, and you can see this is a prototype, the gold card. So the prototype, you will be able to distinguish each and every one of them when you pull them out.
Now, like Hasbro did with the cards, will you have just the card itself, like the backings as a, I don't want to say like a prototype, but I have, like I had brought up how I have Axe and Smash. You said you have Andre and Akeem. Will you do something like that as well with the cards, the backings?
Well, there will be something similar, but it won't be like the sketches and stuff like that.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
and here's the logo, which I love the logo, by the way. It's very
Oh,
awesome.
thank you to Jay Pickers from Philippines. He made that absolutely fabulous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did a great job.
he did. Initially, it was just red without like an actual shield look.
Hmm.
But then once we put it onto the packaging, we were just like, it's missing something. So then I asked him. I said, can you make it more somewhat like a foil, a little bit like the 80s style? So he went ahead and I think within 2 hours he whipped that up for me.
Well, it looks awesome.
Hmm.
Like I said, I seen the packaging. I mean, look how great that looks right there
Yeah.
and there. I love that. That looks great.
Thank
I'm
you to Matt
excited for
Rhodes,
this.
man. Matt Rhodes did a great job
Yeah,
on them, and not only that, he's also our Australia, New Zealand distributor as well. He did a fantastic job.
I think that it looks great. I can't wait to see the final product. And then this
Yeah.
right here, I was super excited about.
Oh, when I saw the prototype, it wasn't even painted, and I went, wow, this is insane. And just to clarify to some people, because there were some people pointing out, oh, the sticker deco and stuff like that is not really really going in, and it was like sticking out a little bit or whatever. This is a prototype.
Yeah,
Jax when they did prototyping, it was the same thing. It was it was literally just like a sticker on there on the deco, and that's it. And then the factory will fix it up later.
yeah,
So it's very common for that. So don't worry, when the final product come out, you're not going to see like how come my figure got a sticker on it
yeah.
and on the deco it's like it came off. No, it won't happen.
Now,
Not on my watch anyway.
yeah, now I really like the fact he's coming with the things that go around the arms and
Right.
the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
We've seen people do customs of this figure, and every
Right.
time I've seen a custom, I always think, what about the entrance gear he comes out with?
Right.
You're the first one to do that also for this
Um,
figure, I
I
believe.
thought about it, and see, here's the thing, a lot of people were like, the old Hasbro style figures were more generic, and not that many accessories to go on. I look at here right now, I see Jake the Snake Roberts, Big Boss Man, they had their specific accessories, Hacksaw Jim Duggan has 2x4.
Yeah,
But then in terms of having more accessories, you never really had that. So you know I want people who are pre-ordering these to get a full-on experience, and not just, okay, I got to figure now what.
yeah.
So that's where the accessories come into play. I think it's
Well,
more of an upgrade in a sense.
I agree with you, and I think that whether you're a mock collector, mint on card fans,
Right.
or if you're a loose collector,
Right.
me as a collector, I have to buy one of each. It has to be mock. I have to have one for mock,
Hmm.
and then obviously behind me, I need for displaying.
Right.
These figures with the accessories the way that they are going to display incredible.
Right. I
They're-
think it is too, and that's one reason why I really want to make sure that these look as fantastic as possible. And not only that, I know I haven't shown the picture yet. There is going to be a yellow version of the Komet Kid, because the yellow version, and it's very rare. A lot of people have not seen it before, but Paul Diamond actually wore it when he was wrestling at a tour in New Japan back in 1994. So we decided to go with that as well to celebrate it.
that is awesome.
I mean, there will be some people like, I have never seen it before.
Yeah,
What's the point? But then you still have the option. If it comes out and it looks nice, you can still buy it.
Yeah,
It,
that is awesome.
and then I mean, to me, I feel that there can be more done for these wrestlers.
Yeah,
At the same time, collectors still have a certain option. I mean, I cannot stop what some people are thinking and thinking that, oh, I just want one. And I get it. You can just buy one. It's not like I'm forcing you to buy more.
yeah, right.
No,
I mean, it's a great series. Look at that.
I think
Look
it
how
is.
that looks
Yes.
with look how that looks with the things on. I mean,
Right.
it's so cool because I remember when, he would come out and then the things would
Yeah.
flare out of the arms,
Yeah.
like that. Oh my god. That
And
is
not
so
only that, I was looking at different designs,
Mhm.
from the predecessors. And I was thinking, how can I make this look stand out? And I've seen like customizers doing jumpers. I've seen customizers doing other look. For example, I think it was Gorilla Press Slam, stuff like that. And I was thinking, well, you know what? He's holding out two cannons like this, right? You know, why
Yeah.
not? Why not think of something else? So I right away I looked at the Bret Hart and I looked at the Hogan, and I said to Daniel, I said, design it based on these two.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and the fact of the matter is, I don't think people understand this. This mold is not going to be used again because it's not going to be suitable for any other figures.
Yeah.
There's no way that I can reuse these molds ever again.
Yeah. No.
So, the molding cost itself is extremely high for this.
That is now again as a collector, knowing that these molds can only be used once, are the molds something that you're going to keep for yourself, or like in time maybe sell the molds or see if the families or
Um,
themselves are
I
interested?
I have not thought about it, to be honest,
Okay.
but to ensure there won't be any tricky thing going on, with some factories, because you never know.
Yeah.
Uh, each time when the figures are produced, I'm taking back the molds.
Yeah.
I'll just put them somewhere over here that's safe, and the factory won't be able to use them for other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Very smart thinking. And um if you ever did sell a mold, I'd be interested, by the way. And I'll even sign a contract that I won't produce anything because I have no intent. I'm just a collector.
Uh,
But this
I'll
looks
s-
really awesome.
yeah.
I love that. Because like I have bought in customizable accessories for
Right.
my figures, like my I'll just do this one. My Kamala here has
Right.
like all the custom stuff, the custom mask,
Right.
uh, the shield, and
Yeah.
everything. Because I see that stuff and I think to myself, hey, Hasbro kind of missed out here when it comes to the accessories.
Hmm.
The Paul Diamond Comet Kid thing right here is just I'm blown away with the
Yeah.
accessories and Mantar.
I
This
I
figure
really
looks
I really like this. Um, the reason is that you can see it was actually hand painted on the prototype, but
yeah,
the final product will be decoed instead. Um, because it just look a little bit easier to paint on for Jordan.
yeah.
So he would rather paint them instead of using the decals, but the final product will come out in decals.
Um, we talked earlier with Mantar coming with the head, and there it is.
Yeah, yeah,
That
that's
thing.
that's the ears we were talking about.
Yeah, right up there. Yeah.
Mhm.
That looks incredible, man.
I was just talking to the factory today, and because the head is going to be heavy,
Yeah.
and I said, let's try to use soft vinyl for the head, and that way, it won't be too heavy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it gets too heavy, your figure cannot stand. So that's something that I have been thinking of as well to make sure.
Now, I do have a question with the heaviness. Has the thought of the glue that you're going to like for the figures onto the card, have you thought about that, or
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
heaviness? Have you thought that, like, afraid that, like, it could come off the card?
Well, some of the companies have used like a with the factory, they have used like a kind of like a glue pressing technique
Okay.
on from the bubble to the card. So that's something that I will push for. And because the thing is, if once they have finished packaging or whatever, I'm going to do a bunch of rough testing on the sample
Hmm.
myself to ensure that, say for example, I put them into one of my protectors and shake them like there's no tomorrow, or like throw them to the wall and like all that kind of stuff just to make sure.
Yeah.
It's something, these tiny little stuff is something that I feel I have to do before it even like move on to the next stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has to be done. There's no way that I will do this. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. This looks great. I and so
Yeah, I
fans
love
know
I love it.
and so fans know everything we've looked at are the prototypes. Uh,
Yeah.
and they look great, man. These are just phenomenal figures.
And I was asking the factory, I said, how off will the prototypes be comparing to the final product? They said, it will be at least 95% close to the prototype, and ensure me to have nothing to worry about. But knowing the factory, and knowing factories of how things work, I will still be closely monitoring just to make sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these are awesome. I absolutely love every figure in this line so far that we have viewed.
Yeah.
I love how the
Uh,
accessories are, and that brings us to the last figure in
yeah.
series one,
Yeah.
PN News. And for fans listening on Apple, um, the prototype that we're looking at here for PN News is unpainted. Uh,
Right.
Shawn, can you explain, like, how the final look of this
It,
will?
it's getting done. It's getting done. So, um, basically, there's gonna be a version that looks like the old Galoop that did not come out, but the design of it, the necklace and also the microphone are removable.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, so they're removable, but not the shades or the hat.
Okay.
Because I look back at some of the Hasbros, and and some of the modern figures, that the hat accessories or the sunglasses accessories, a lot of them just look off, like putting onto figures. And then when you try to remove them, it looks even more off.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's that you might as well, have them molded on instead. And the one thing that I thought about was, when PN News came out in the entrance, there were times he would like pointing fingers and like holding onto the microphone doing raps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's the idea that came from. And if you can see, the torso and the legs are actually same mold as Mantaur's.
Oh, yes, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that I have always said is that I will try not to reuse the molds
Mm.
unless they actually fit.
Yeah. In this case,
So
it fits.
yeah, it fits perfect.
One thing I noticed, and I don't know if you know, I kept like looking back at my Hasbro's.
Mm.
Um, the boots.
Right.
What I'm referring to with the boots, you go
These are
so
more flat,
intricate.
right?
You go so intricate, like the Hasbro's, all the boots are flat. You
Right.
literally have the strings to the boots like out, protruded out, like its own separate thing there to the boot. That's something that is such a little detail that I paid attention to as I've been watching as we've gone through each figure. You have a lot of detail in these
Yeah.
figures. And just a
I
great
hope the
example.
factory can actually paint these tiny little bits on there.
Yeah.
I really do, because otherwise I'm gonna get hate mails and they're probably gonna try to send me razor blades.
Yeah. Because like the one thing I noticed too is like, here in the boot, you can see where it's painted black with the lace, but
Yeah.
Mantaur's, look at the intricateness of the fur to
Oh,
the
that's Daniel's
head.
work.
That
Daniel's
is a
work is phenomenal.
that is a lot of work there. And just like that alone, but like all these little details to the ring gear itself that is added on is just phenomenal. And
I won't have it other way because I am a collector too. Let's be
the
honest.
eyes, the eyes. On Hasbro's, they're just like little dots. You've got
Yeah.
full sets of eyes. Inside the mouth is painted. The teeth. Where some Hasbro's didn't do that.
Well, that's Jordan's work. Jordan did great work on it.
Jordan did
Jordan
phenomenal. Did
Jordan
phenomenal
Davidson
work.
did all the paint work, and he is absolutely phenomenal.
And here's the series 1 image, which this is really cool. I like this. I gotta say, I'm very, very excited for this line to come out, and seeing all the different, like just the fine tuning and the little detail that have gone into these figures
Yeah.
is amazing. I Seeing those prototypes has me more excited for
Yeah.
these figures to come out. And
I mean,
fans,
initially, I wasn't going to add Paul Diamond into Series 1,
yeah,
and it was supposedly, Kamala, but Kamala's estate decided not to work with us back in late March, and we were in somewhat of a negotiation phase during the first half of April. But ultimately, we couldn't come to terms in the agreement. So that's around the time when Paul Diamond signed with me. And so right away I thought about, okay, let's do a Komet Kid gimmick at the same time the Kato gimmick, which will come out later with Pat Tanaka. So the Orient Express is coming out too. Yeah.
oh, that's very cool. That is awesome.
It's funny as well because Pat Tanaka, who is very hard to get a hold of. I
Yeah.
had to go through multiple channels to find him, and he was very cool with it. And I sent him an email, and he said, call me on this number. My old one don't work anymore. So so we talked on the phone, and I offered contract right away. I think he signed about a month later, and I found out that he was still talking to Paul Diamond a lot after he signed. But then when I contacted Paul Diamond 2 weeks ago, because we needed videos for to promote the line and whatnot,
Yeah.
and he then, because again Paul Diamond's another one that's pretty hard to get a hold of as well, and I told him about Pat, and turns out that he lost Pat's number. and I said to him, I said, I have his number. He was like, oh, you do? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So, I end up sending him the number as well. So, I guess I reunited the Orient Express somehow.
Awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Shawn, the figure line series 1, the first figure pre-order of Mantaur drops August 1st, and then after that it's each month a new figure drops. Tell fans again where they can be able to.
Okay, all right. That's the plan right now.
Yes.
But ultimately, we will have to see how things go with Mantaur.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that, as I've said before, the market right now is pretty saturated. And I don't mind saying that. We all know. And that's also the reason why we rolled out with Mantaur first. But then one of the other thing is that, if we are able to reach up to 500 pre-orders, and I'm pretty sure that should not be too much of a problem. Then we're gonna roll out with PN News for September 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And where will fans be able to pre-order those again?
It's going to be Asylum Wrestling Store for the US, Wrestling Merch in Canada, Shop KWK for Europe, UK, and Asia. Also, at this point in time, most likely we have Wrestling Collectibles NZ for Australia and New Zealand. Yeah.
Awesome. And where can fans find KWK on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, KWK_Shawn, and SHAWN I'm at. Some people somehow turn into SEAN and SAUN. It's SHAWN. Okay. Just to clarify. Another one that you guys can find me on is KWK Kayfabe Wrestling Kollector on Facebook. That's my Facebook page, and you will see me like updating on the page a lot and very often and whatnot. You can also find me on Shawn NG at Twitter. On Twitter, it's KSHAWN NG on my Twitter. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming on today. I had a great time learning about this whole process of how this came about, getting to hear about the interactions with the wrestlers and how this whole thing came about. Fans, make sure you go and you pick up Mantaur August 1st pre-order. I'm already pre-ordering too because I got to have one sealed and I got to have one for display. And that always brings me to this, fans. If it's not in a case, you don't have a chase. We're out.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching that video. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you hit subscribe so you can get all our content here at Perched on the Top Rope. And fans, remember, spoiler free's the way to be. I'm out.